keeping that fire alive in the tiger spirit. It's day 5! I accidentally bought cereal that expired 2 months ago. I'm still gonna eat it though. Hardcore. Day 5 hardcore week. Once again, slept in a little bit, didn't get up until around 11. Not thrilled about that, but when I'm staying up so late, I'm starting to get a little burnt, so it's one thing to do as much as I can in a day, it's another not be getting enough sleep for days on end. So I'm kind of glad this is the last day. Here's what's going on. I've got up, did my thing, had a little breakfast, gym jams. Gym jams. I'm eating breakfast, gym jam. Anyway, I'm switching up the formula. Typically what I've been doing is like client work, housework, print work for myself, more housework, going out, blah, blah, blah. Okay, still hardcore, still just going to be productive all day, but I'm going to be working on my 11x17 print of King Kong vs. Godzilla until it's done. I'm going to start in a minute, and I'm just going to go until it's done, and then I'm going to go and get it printed, because the printer closes at 6, and the show is Saturday. Now, theoretically, I can go Saturday before the show, but I got to be there at 12, and I got to set up, so I'd have to like get up and run and get it printed, and if there's anything goes wrong, there's no margin for error. Whereas today, if something goes wrong, I could go tomorrow. So the point is, the hardcore plan is to just work on that print starting right now until it's done, and then do other productive things, which will include going and getting it printed. Okay, off I go then. Okay, it's 1:30. I got bogged down in social media a little bit. I had to respond to a few work-related emails, and then I was responding to comments and things. It's tough because that is something that I should do, and it's part of the workday, and it's being productive, and it's in its own way hardcore. But it's so easy to get sucked down the hole. But I didn't do too bad. I did about a half hour. But then I've been working on the King Kong vs. Godzilla print, and I'm going to say that the inks are done at this point. Wow, bright. So it probably doesn't look that different from last night, because mainly I was doing the helicopters. Now these two, I looked at a reference and kind of did my best, but there was only a side reference and a 3/4. I was having a really hard time finding a front reference. This one was a lot easier, a lot closer to the source material because it was a profile, and it doesn't really matter. Now this one, it diverged the most from the model. These helicopters are actually all a specific one that was modeled after in the movie, but I remember there being like other helicopters, like a reporter helicopter or something, so I kind of took creative license to just make that one smash down there and not worry about making it match. Now I said it's all inked, which it is. The fire remnants from Godzilla and these clouds are not inked, nor is this smoke coming off of King Kong, but I'm going to do all that in color, so I'm going to leave it in for now. I'm going to go into colored flats at this point. And the time is 1:30. 1:30. Hardcore. And yes, it's been an hour. It's 2:30 now. I did the flats for Godzilla, did the flats for Kong, and I went in with the shading and the texturing. I'm calling, the way I do it is I'm like, okay, that's done. That's done for now. Then I'm going to do Godzilla, and I'll probably feel like he's done, and then make sure they match and everything, and then I'll do the background, and then I might add more lighting or other things later. But as you can see, I already have, the base layer, a highlight layer, a shadow layer, and then, an extreme shadow layer, an extreme highlight layer, and then one or two other adjustments. I'm stupid crazy. Here's a bunch of layers. Some are in folders, some are not. And that's where I'm at. About an hour to do him. So I just went and got a cup of coffee. This is my second caffeinated cup. I don't normally have 2 in the morning. I normally have a decaf second. But I needed to be extra hardcore because I'm falling behind on my own schedule with getting this colored. King Kong took me forever. I just did Godzilla. Now, Godzilla's not 100% done, but as you can see, he's pretty close to being done. I gotta go in and do, colors on his teeth and a few extra little things, but most of the highlights and shadows and texturing done. This took me about 10 minutes. That took me over an hour. Now, granted, there's 2 colors here, and he's mainly just 1 color, but I think the bigger issue of what changed, arguably I took a break, had more coffee, got an Uzi sitting next to me, hardcore, but what really I think it is that when I was doing Kong, his colors are weird and nebulous, and in some shots, he looks almost black, and in other shots, he looks like orange, like an orangutan, and I'm trying to get that, and the same thing with his face, it's like kind of a gray-black, but then it's a flesh, and part of it is this was an early color movie. This was the first color Godzilla movie, which I actually didn't realize until recently. And King Kong, there's a puppet for his head, and there's a suit, and I'm trying to combine all these elements, and so some of the shadow layers weren't just about shadow and highlight, but about getting a color that was sort of a mix of the two, and I was changing my mind as I went. And same thing with the fur. I was getting highlight colors to try to change the color as opposed to just show a light source. And so I went in with Godzilla. I'm just like, okay, here, the light source is here, and here's a highlight, and I'll use a different color for this. And I'm just like, wow, that was super easy. So I lost some time on Kong, made up some time on Godzilla, once again proving that Godzilla is the king of the Kaijus. Kaiju Arufa Hardcore! Did a little more work on Godzilla. I'm gonna head to the background now. Let me show you something. So mainly I did the secondary colors of his mouth and his dorsal fins and things like that, but I'm not great on color theory, but a few things I try to do. Right here, he's got a slightly different texture than on the rest of his body. So I wanted to add like a slightly different color there too, and it had sort of a brownish. So I sampled the closest brown from King Kong to put on here to kind of unify it, and that's, you know, like color theory light is trying to use similar colors to unify the whole thing. Also, he is very orange and red, which, if you know, those are considered warm colors, which are supposed to move forward, and cooler colors like green and blue recede into the background, at least in theory. So Godzilla has a lot of green and blue, so getting some pink in here in his mouth and a little bit on his chest and a few other areas of the dorsal fins, you don't see it with your eye, but hopefully it brings him forward and connects him to King Kong more. And that's your hardcore color theory.
Dare I say, hardcore!
Hardcore indeed, Mike Emirates! Sleep cat! Snore, 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 snore. 3:45, it's coming along. Still feeling the crunch of time, but it's possible I can get it done in time today. If not, I'll be up early tomorrow. I just took a break to use the restroom. Now this might sound crass, but I use my phone while I'm in the restroom. I know I'm the only one. While there, I got information that I could book Kamikaze, conferred with the artist I'm splitting the table with, got that squared away, just gotta put in the paperwork, but work done, hardcore. Also, talked to my local shop owner about getting the check that is due to me, which I will, and she asked me to be in her Kickstarter video. I agreed, hardcore. Lastly, Indie Planet got back to me, and all my paperwork is set, and the comic will be listed there shortly, probably next week sometime. Hardcore. So, work accomplished. Back to Godzilla vs. King Kong, the print. It's 4:30, I'm outside, I'm walking. Why? Because I'm going to the paper store. Kelly Paper, where they have the thick cardstock I like to use to make prints. Is the Godzilla print done? No. It's close to being done. There was a slim chance I can get it done in time, but probably not, so I just resigned myself to I'm gonna do it tomorrow morning. However, I could buy the paper tonight. That's one less thing I have to do tomorrow. Also, I quickly exported the Rodan and Godzilla 2000 that I had done because I could go to the print shop tonight, print those, get them cut, so that I'll have the two small prints 100% done, so that even if tomorrow completely gets screwed up, I'll at least have those two. So that's smart, and smart is hardcore. This is what I call a hardcore paper store. Well, that just barely worked out. It's like closing in 7 minutes at this point. Luckily, it's really close to my house. It's less than 10 minutes away. I thought it was further because when I've come here before, and I don't come here all the time, I've been coming from the other side of town where I'm printing, doing things. I'm like, oh, I gotta go to Kelly Paper, and I'm essentially coming back to my house. I'm terrible with directions. I just follow the GPS. Anyway, I got 2 packs. I normally buy 1 pack of 200 sheets of 11 by 17, 110 pound paper to do my prints. But I'm gonna do a lot today or tomorrow, and then I'm gonna have to do more and blah, 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 blah. So I just bought 2. And it's expensive, but, well, I mean, you know, I make my money back when I sell the prints, hopefully. But this is, typically they sell to resellers and distributors and, you know, things like that. I always come in by myself, but I've dumped a couple $100 here over the last year, easily. So I was asking, like, what do I have to do to be a reseller? And they're like, well, this and that, and you got to fill this out, and we'll profile you and tell you what kind of discount you can get. But I feel like it's worth doing, because even if I get a small discount, that's something. And she asked me if I had a reseller's permit, and I do, because I sell at shows, and in California I have to, and it doesn't cost anything, but I've already done it. And she said, oh, that right there puts you in another bracket, so you'll get a discount of some kind. So I'm going to fill out the paperwork next time I come in. Hopefully I'll get a discount. If it's 5%, 10%, anything, that's awesome. So, hardcore! Anyway, now I'm off to the printer. And now I take my Kelly Paper and go to the UPS store to make prints. I thought I only had an hour, actually I have about 2 hours, so I should be good. Okay, so I'm done at UPS. Good news, bad news time. Bad news, I couldn't get any 11 by 17 prints, which doesn't really matter today because I didn't have it ready, but the idea was I was testing it for tomorrow. I was just wanting to see what the color looked like. I assumed the paper would work because I've used paper like that before, but it's being weird, and apparently the paper I got, it's 110 pound, but then there's a secondary measurement of grams per square meter, which is 300, and 270 is the limit for theirs. So while I've got it to work in the past, it's sketchy, especially if I want to do 50 copies, forget it. So what I'd like to do with the 8x8s, which I have the 2 of, is do them 2 up. Like, so I'd have a Godzilla 2000 and a Rodan, and cut them, because I need to pay for the cuts, and that way I get 2 up. But that paper isn't working. Luckily, I had some 8.5 by 11 left over for what time when I was going to do 8.5 by 11 print size as a regular size. So I brought that in case this happened. Thinking ahead, hardcore. And so I printed up about 40 copies of each of those. They're done. They came out okay. There was a couple little glitches where they came out messed up, but I got my 40 of each. I got to get them cut, which I'm probably going to go do now. And then hopefully I can figure something out for tomorrow for the 11 by 17. But if not, I at least have the two 8 by 8s. And I come here a lot and they know me, and the owner was really cool, and he didn't charge me for any of the mess ups. He didn't charge me for the computer time, so he charged me as little as possible, even though the mistakes were like my fault. I picked bad paper. It's like not his fault, but I'm like, oh, that's for reasonable thanks. And he's like, oh, you know, you're a regular customer, you do everything yourself, because I do. I set it up and there's a paper jam, I fix it and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you know, you're great. And actually at one point when I was troubleshooting to get something on work, I did this. Like, it should work. I'm like, what if we do one at a time, and blah, blah, blah. And then later he's like, you do better than most of my employees. They don't understand how to do this. And his wife laughed, and I'm like, ah. And I'm not gonna lie, that made me feel really good. And like my nerd pride, I'm like, yeah, I do better than your employees. I know how to run a copy machine. They don't know what they're doing. And that's the weird thing. I've had a lot of retail minimum wage type jobs, and I always, no matter how much I might complain about the boss or be annoyed, or like, I always strove to be good at my job. Like, I wanted to learn how to do everything as quick as I could so that I could do it awesome, so that then when I goofed off and didn't, like, you know, behave properly the rest of the time, it's like, yeah, but he's the best one at running that machine, or he's the best one at stocking, or he's the only one that knows, you know. So I would always make sure to excel in all the normal job requirements, so that the soft skills of, you know, being quiet and not, you know, drawing while I'm at work, they'd kind of let that slide. And I think that carries over to when I'm doing this. Like, I want to be better than all the other customers. I want to be better than the people that work there. I want to know. And it's super nerdy. Like, I normally talk about how I'm a geek or a dork. I consider nerdy more of an academic thing, and I've never been good in school. But this aspect of my personality is certainly nerdy, of where I just want to be proficient at the skill more than anyone else for no real reason, you know? Anyway, I know the reason, because even back then, I was hardcore! So getting the prints cut right now doesn't make sense, because I need to pick up dinner for both Quellen and myself. So I just went to Domino's, where I got a pizza for me, and I'm gonna stop Burger King to get chicken, I think, for her. And I think this makes sense, because I'll go out later tonight to get the prints cut, and possibly, if I can get the print done soon enough, I think I'm gonna have to get it printed at FedEx, which I don't like because it costs more and the quality is not as good, but it's a more of a sure thing than tomorrow morning. So after dinner, assuming I could get, well, I'm gonna go to FedEx to get them cut either way, but maybe I could also get the print done at the 11 by 17. That's my point, and that is my point. Time is passing like crazy here on day 5 of Hardcore Week. I got home, I picked up the food, I ate myself a whole medium Domino's pizza, hardcore. That's actually not that weird for me, I eat whole pizzas all the time, but I did get some cheesy bread on the side. That made me feel a little bit sick, so I watched some TV for like an hour before I got back to work. But I have been back to work for hours. I'm still not done, but you could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I have everything flatted. I'm just going in with extra shading and effects, like I did the electricity and the smoke. I'm focusing on this now. I'm having a hard time making it pop. I was just talking to Q about it. So I'm doing finishing touches and little tweaks, and I'll probably be able to get it printed tonight from FedEx. Which, like I said, will cost more, but the stress of not having to worry about it. And also, maybe I'll only get like 20 done instead of 100, because I'll need more eventually, but this only needs to last me tomorrow. I had 2 coffees and 2 Coke Zeros, but I'm dragging, so I'm gonna have another Coke Zero for the caffeine, so that I can finish this up, get out there, get it printed, get the cuts made. Star Commander! She's biting on the cord for my Cintiq. Isn't that fantastic? You might think it's hardcore. No, it's not. It's destructive with no purpose. Hardcore has purpose. Focus destruction. 10:17 and getting that Coke Zero turned into watching an episode of Power Rangers in Space with Q. How dare I take a break or spend time with my wife? I need to be more hardcore, and I am. This could be done in like a minute, but I'm just noodling with it because I know I'm going to print it and be showing it to tons of people, so I'm trying to get it perfect, and unfortunately I'm on a deadline. Some Kinko's FedEx close at 11, and then a really far one closes at 12, and then an even further one's open all night. So I'm aiming for the 11 o'clock. Probably not gonna make it. Maybe. We'll see. I better stop talking to you. So I just did like a half hour-ish work on the print and was like, I'm done. And went to save, and somehow it didn't save. I don't know if it was my mistake or the computer or what, but I went to save. It's not like I'm like, close. And I lost all that work. Now, it wasn't big deal work, and it wasn't that much time, except it is 10:30, and I was like, oh, I could save this, run to that 11 o'clock one, which is also where the people know me, so sometimes I get a better deal or better treatment. And now I'm gonna have to quick try to replicate that, and it's unlikely I'll make it to the 11 o'clock one, so. Yeah, hardcore, guys. Guess what I did? Okay, lost all that data. I was like, okay, the place by me closes at 11, and I just powered through it, and like, I remembered, okay, these are like the 6 things I changed. Changed them all. Hardcore! Then, and it was 11:45, and the place by me closes at 11. Now, there are other ones that are open later, but they're further, and here's the key. I don't really go to them, so I don't know those people. The FedEx by me, I go to all the time. I know half the employees there. I come in, they know I'm there for art stuff, and, you know, they take extra good care of me, and, you know, it's a little unfair, but I get extra good customer service. Sometimes they cut me a break on money and stuff. So, being that one of the things I had a problem with at UPS was this paper, I wanted to see if I could use it there, and I didn't want to have to talk to some rando about it. So I finished up, flew out the door. He was like, where are you going? I'm like, I gotta go, but I can't talk. Got there, they were closing in like 7 minutes. I was like, crap, I was hoping today was one of those days where it was until 12, and I'm like, look, I'm really sorry. I thought you might have been open later, blah, 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 blah. I'm talking to this guy who I don't know, being very nice. And he's taking it in, and he's like, yeah, we could probably do it in the morning, but we have a few things ahead of you. And I'm like, okay, fine, fair enough, I get it, you know. Hoping they could just do it real quick, but I understand. And then, guy comes out from the back who does know me. Hey, what are you doing here? Oh, blah, blah, blah. And then the guy's like, oh, hey, when do you think we can have these done? He's like, let's just do them right now. So he did my cuts on the 8x8s that I needed. While he was doing that, the other guy popped in the UPS? He popped in the UPC? No, UPN. Yeah. What do you call those things? It's like a flash drive. It's a little key. It's a USB hardcore for memory. Bad memory. But anyway, so they do it. And they print it, and they're able to use the paper that UPS couldn't use. So I got it cheaper than I normally do, because FedEx I normally go for scanning and cutting and a few other things, not normally printing. They don't always have the paper I want, and it's usually more expensive. Now, it was more expensive than UPS, but it wasn't that bad. It was much cheaper than it normally is. I could still make a good profit. Totally worth it since they're open all night, and they did it immediately. I was very happy. They ended up staying a little after 11. It was excellent customer service. I'm going to go give them a good review on the receipt survey thing. And so then I was like, and the one guy was like a Godzilla fan, the other guy knows me and likes my art. I'm like, if you guys want to run an extra one for each of you, like as a tip, I gave them each a print. They're like, cool, thanks, you know. So I apologized a lot. They were really cool about it. Everything's sorted. So it's about 11:30. I'm going to feed the cats. Then I'm going to set up a table and watch TV with Q. But I'll be working. I'll be setting up for the show tomorrow. I'll be bagging. I'll be framing. I'll be just organizing. So I'm still working, still hardcore. 1:15, I've been organizing for the show tomorrow, got the prints done and everything. I put the new prints I did, I put into my print books. I also reorganized the print books so that everything that is Godzilla or Tokusatsu or giant robots or things of that nature were all in the front. I also reorganized everything in my Tupperware containers. That you can see here, I have several, but this one is all prints that are not on topic. All things I probably won't need. I'll probably have it, but leave it in the car or leave it in the back and not necessarily worry about displaying that stuff. Whereas I have the things that are more on topic in here, and I've just been reorganizing. And I've brought everything out from under the bed and in the closet and everywhere else it is. I'm gonna put it by the door. I thought about building one of the grates before I went over there, but maybe I'll do that tomorrow because I'm getting tired and I still need to make this video. So, I guess that's it, right? No! Hardcore! Hardcore. And that's sorted. So I have all my piles by the door, ready to go for tomorrow. Just load them up on the hand truck, yada yada. You've seen it if you've watched my other videos. How I do, how Gazzy do, and how he do is hardcore. So that's the end of Hardcore Week. I might do a follow-up video with the show tomorrow if I have time to film anything. But yeah, it's been pretty successful, pretty productive. Got 3 new prints done, printed, created from scratch, printed, cut, sorted, ready to go. Got every bit of housework done I needed to do. I still got some eBay stuff I need to shoot out, but that's sort of like extra on top of regular housework. All my client work's done except for 2 new ones, which I just got, so they're not due till the end of next week. And yeah, I'm in pretty good shape. I could spend the next week or 2 finishing up whatever I want, and, you know, like I said, hit July real strong, working on the Horror A4, my independent kaiju comic. So that's it. I guess there's only one thing left to do. Hardcore! 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 Hardcore!